go and do a live demo to show you what I mean and why you should actually start using ChatGPT in your day-to-day lives, and like why it matters. If you want to follow along with me, all of you can go to Google and just type ChatGPT and it will take you to a website, and this demo is free. You can go to the very first link and then just click on try ChatGPT. If you all want to do so and follow along with me, be my guest. I'm going to show you a couple of use cases which will start making sense as to why Google stock started dropping. All right. Let's start very first use case that I'm going to talk about, which is that of a search engine. So we go to Google to search about anything, right? We can ask it, look, find me this, give me definition of this, explain to me this concept, and things like that. So let's take a very simple example. I'll ask it, what is the definition of anything I can think of. If you want, people, you can of course give me ideas here, because the next 10 minutes I'm just going to do this live with you. So if you have any ideas that you would like me to try, please type the same in the chat. I'll go with reinforcement. All right. Now here's what's going to happen. It's going to give me an answer, and I'm going to of course compare the same question with Google. I'm going to tell you why the stock dropped. All right. Just read at what it does. All right. This is the answer it gave me. Pretty straightforward, pretty to the point, and I'm good with it. At the same time, if I Google this, it starts giving me links, and it gives me at the very top, just gives me one answer. All right. One more thing. In ChatGPT, let's say it understands the context. So what does that mean? It understands the context. I can look at this, give me some synonyms of the same. Now hear me out. I did not tell ChatGPT that I want synonyms for reinforcement. I did not. ChatGPT understands the context of what conversation has already happened. So it remembers and understands what you're talking about. At the same time, this, if I try to do in Google, of course, it doesn't remember the context that you have. At the same time, you can ask it to explain concepts. So I will ask it to explain me, let's say, gravity. All right. So I will say, explain the, let's take a very simple, let me take a very complex model. Let's say support vector machines. So this is a machine learning model. And I'm just going to ask ChatGPT to tell me what it is. I'm just letting you know it's an ML algorithm. And of course, it will start giving me answers. But we don't stop here. Read what you have in your screen. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to now, you can ask for very detailed queries here. Let me do it like this. So it will keep on generating an answer, and it will give me context of what it is, where it's useful, how it's trained, and so on and so forth. Now look at this. Do it, explain it like I am 5. So I understand that the way ChatGPT has done it right now, it's just too complex for me. I want a dumbed down version. I want a simpler version, right? So ChatGPT, now look at the definition and how it changes. It starts giving you examples which are children friendly and takes the most simplest of them to explain to you what would be otherwise a complex algorithm. And you can do this with anything, and you can change context. Look at this. I know I'm going to try out some funny, they'll not make sense, but I'm trying to show the power of the model. All right. So I'm going to ask, explain the same like you are any famous personality, Quentin Tarantino, uh, Tarantino, stuck in a desert. All right. This query doesn't make sense, right? But I wanted to show you that not only can you ask it for answers, you can go specific and more specific in your query, and it will change the way it gives you an answer. And now look, because Quentin Tarantino movies are just there are guns involved, look at how it changes the way it tries to explain the same concept to you. And keep in mind, this is not a simple concept. It's a machine learning algorithm. But you can just go, you can kind of guide it how however you would like it to answer the same. All right. That is one. For these reasons, Google stock dropped 2 to 3%. Of course, it recovered. My point is, this is why the future looked like that people, rather than Googling, I would just ask it here. Now let me take it one step further. So let's say I want to know, I want a list of things. Let's say I want a curated list. So I will say, give me a list of hobbies I can do. Uh, and let me give it some context. Let's say I'm afraid of water, right? Um, for someone who is afraid of water, and of course, this is just one example. You can run with whatever you want. All right. And now look what it will spew out. And of course, I will run the same query in Google and I'll show you the drastic difference. Is ChatGPT part of Google? No, ChatGPT is part of OpenAI. The reason the stock fell was everyone assumed Google was the front runner in AI arms race, in the AI race. And ChatGPT made everyone realize that Google might not be as ahead as people thought. All right. Make sense? All right. So here I have just asked it to give me some hobbies. All right. I will ask it, let's say I'm in handicap, right? So I will say, give me a list of places to go which are wheelchair friendly. All right. Again, what I will do is after this, I will show you what the same query in Google gives me. But I'm just trying to show you that where exactly, in which circumstances is ChatGPT could be most helpful to you. I will now, what I will do is I'll start writing some queries which have just some Indian context in it so that we can see it much better. Google also has a generative AI. Yes, it does. It's called BART, and they just gave a keynote yesterday. All right. I will say, what are the best dishes to eat in India? Let's say again, or give me a list of best wishes. All right. While it does that, I'll answer your question. Does you give 10 points most question? Many times give me 10 points at max. No, Kaushik, not 10 points is default. If you want 20, ask it for 20, it will do that. Can Bing be called more refined version of ChatGPT? All right. So Bing is not the more refined version of ChatGPT. Bing invested a lot of money in OpenAI. So what we are looking at right now is ChatGPT 3, which is public to everyone. You and I can use it. Bing actually uses ChatGPT 4, which is not live for you and I. You and I can only access it through Bing. So what you're looking at, Piyush, is actually ChatGPT 4. All right. So I asked it, let's say, what are some best dishes to try when in India? And look what I'm going to do. I'm going to add some context. I'm going to say, for someone who is diabetic. All right, just added some context. Make sense? Just read that Watson X is the one recommended for enterprises. Bhaskar, that's we'll not go over there. Enterprises have different requirements. So Can we interact using photos? Kirti, not in ChatGPT. 3, in 4 we can, and we have more models that are specialized in photos. All right. All right. So with that, I have of course given you some context that you can get a list, places to go, things to do, so on and so forth. Now let me show you another thing. And again, I'm going use cases by use cases. And if anyone wants me to input something, please feel free. All right. So let me talk about long length format. All right. Now this is where if anyone watched, Google had a keynote yesterday, and in the keynote they actually used Bart to do something similar. So look what I'm going to do. Write an email to my boss. All right, to my colleagues. Um, to my colleagues, uh, telling them I am taking a break for a month. Again, I'm just showing you, like, it will write an email for you. It will write an essay for you. It will write a poem for you. It will even write a blog for you. In fact, I'll give you some ideas. All right. Anand says, can we how to use it for EDA? You can use it for text EDA. We might do that at the end. Uh, uh, Nagraj, can we see images? Not with ChatGPT 3, with ChatGPT 4 you can. Famous Indian movie heroes. Yeah, I can ask for the same. All right. And for people asking me, can we use code in C Sharp? We'll get there. All right. Step by step. I will ask it to write me an essay regarding what do I write? If anyone, any takers, what do you want an essay on? Any takers? Let's say India. I'll go with India. I'll go with India. All right. So I'll not go more. I'll tell you where it disrupts. So in long formats, it can do. Essays, it can do. Let me do one last poems and we will move on. And I'll show you how it will even draft a contract. All right. This is for people who are looking at it for the first time and do not know what the capabilities are. I kind of have to do this because I want to show them that not only like where can you see disruption with this technology. All right. When I ask write a specific body measure in diet chart, when it can do that. All right. Let me do one last thing, and this is where it will get interesting. Look at this. Write a poem, and please look at this because this will kind of blow half of your minds. Write a poem about Amitabh Bachchan in Hindi, and you tell me if you could have done a better job. I can ask it to write the same in Punjabi, in Gujarati, in Malayalam. And of course, I can ask it for many things. I can ask it to make me quotes. And so for the creative people who do typewriting or copywriting, when it comes to just creating content, uh, you can take a lot of inspiration from here. That is why all the blog companies are now going bankrupt. Not all, but like you can see how this kind of takes away a lot of people can do trials and error, and they can figure out, all right, this line looks good, let me use that. That line looks good, let me use that. So imagine I'm an author and I want to write a scary story. What I'll do is I'll tell ChatGPT to give me 10 scary story ideas. And I'll ask it again and again and again. Let's say I have 100 ideas. Me as an author, I can run with one of those ideas. Ideas are cheap now. It's the selection that will matter. Like if you want to burn that in your memory, ideas will be cheap in the AI world. The ones selecting them, they will remain. All right. I'm going to do one last and then we're going to move on since it can do so many things. All right. I'm going to ask it, write a rent agreement between two parties for 11 months starting, what is the date today? Starting 12th May 2023. All right. It's a rent agreement. I've just told it, just start and look what kind of template it gives me. And just a caveat, you can't use this template altogether. It will be wrong. The idea is you have to take this template to a lawyer. Like ChatGPT is not perfect, will not be perfect. But the idea is it gives you a good springboard or a starting point. From that, you can like take it to a lawyer and like confirm and then do it live. So now imagine I am a lawyer, right? Now, would it not be a fair statement to say that ChatGPT can act as my assistant and can do basically the grunt work, and I can, of course, vet it and verify if it is okay or not. That all I can do. So it gave me a pretty good template of the things it should cover in a rent agreement between two parties and gave me a pretty good starting point. All right. I can. Now let's move on to, let's say, solving your question paper. So let me ask it. Let me ask it certain questions. I will quickly go to, let's say, sample, and like if you want, you can give me ideas. Math problems. Let's say I am just randomly taking some. Uh, I'll copy paste them. And of course, I'm using something very simple. If you have a physics problem or a chemistry problem, it will do the same. The thing I'm trying to tell you is it will give you an idea. All right. Ask it to solve towers of unknown problem. Someone told me Pythagoras theorem is wrong. What did you type as an input, Kirti? And by the way, people, it will not be perfect. I'm going to give you more use cases, and some places it will be more applicable and some places it will be less applicable. All right. The idea is you can write your maths, physics, chemistry questions here, and it will give you some results. Now let me quickly wrap up some questions I have in the chat. Will ChatGPT give the same results for everyone? No, Narmada, they will not. Unable to hear you. Neha, how about now? ChatGPT, where is getting references for answers? So ChatGPT 3 won't give you the references of answers. The Google model that went live yesterday, well, all right, ChatGPT won't. Can we generate format template for journals? You can, Neha. Vinay is asking for diet charts. You can. Can it solve MCQ questions from a screenshot? ChatGPT 3 can't. Salim says it can. When yes, by default it will not. And I would recommend all of you to look at the Google I/O that happened yesterday. All right. So one question I would like to remind all of you is this is not perfect, not yet anyway. And I'm just trying to show you the possibilities so that you can see, all right, this is what's going to happen in 10 years. How do I do something about it? All right. Let me still go in the possibility phase, and let me still explain much more things, and we'll do this Q&A now at the end. All right. It will at the same time it can create programmerly installed in your system. What does it do? Like it takes your text and kind of tells you what you did wrong, right? Similarly, you can give it your email here, and I will say sample email for job applications, let's say. All right. And I will copy paste something. Can I get a sample email? I can't. Give me a second. Sample. I'll copy something, or I can write some Python code if I want. I can give it something and I'll tell it to fix it, and it will do that for me. If I have a Python code and I tell me what is wrong with this Python code, it will do the same. Let me get sample Python code from W3 school, just for examples. You can use whatever you want. I'm just giving you some examples. And I will, of course, copy this and hear me out. I'm going to mess it up, and look what I'm going to do. What is wrong with this code, and look what it gives me. For people who are stuck in their with their Jupyter notebooks, facing errors they don't know how to solve, not will it only fix your code, it will tell you what's wrong, and it will do the same for your emails, it will do the same for your poems, it will do the same for your essays. What will Grammarly do now? If Grammarly doesn't adapt, what will it do? All right. All right. Now time to answer some questions. Our answers from ChatGPT are fact checked. They are not. Raja, that is one thing you should be aware. They are not fact checked. All right. So that when we will come to business application, the next 5 to 10 minutes. All right. Are you going to speak about plugins that will help for business? No, not plugins. There are, I know them, but no. I'm going to tell you possibilities and I'll tell you that plugins exist. Lecture how to integrate ChatGPT for your own business website. All right, let me now carry on. All right, now let me go and quickly copy a Wikipedia article. All right, Wikipedia article. Whatever, I'll just copy something. Let's say, let's go with Julian Santos. I don't know who this person is, but let's go with that. All right, I will copy paste this and look what I'm going to do. If you have certain text, you can translate it, you can lengthen it, you can paraphrase it, and you can even reword it. So if you want, and like it would not be ethical, you can paraphrase whatever you want. You can reword whatever you want so that any kind of plagiarized tool won't work. So I will say, translate this to Spanish. All right. I'll quickly fix that. And I will copy paste the same. And look what it does. So again, Google Translate, what's going to happen? And same thing. And now I can start asking it questions in Spanish. No problem, will work. I can ask it to lengthen this. I can ask it to translate it again. I can ask it to paraphrase the same. And I can ask it to reword, change the words. All right. So Bhaskar, yes, it does language translation. All right. Is it possible to upload a data set and get some answers for the questions? Narmada, not exactly, but I'll show you what it can do. All right. All right, let me carry on because a lot of you have a lot of questions and I'll need time to answer the same. Let me show you how it will also give you, if you want. So Google search engine is very synchronous and asynchronous in nature. You will talk about ask something, you'll get an answer. Ask something, you get an answer. Here you can have a guided prompt. You can guide it towards your answer. So let's say I am running a business and I have some clients. I want a better marketing or client conversion. Now look at this. How do I get better client conversion for my sales team in the pharmaceutical business? Again, the examples I'm giving you are just generic in nature, but you can take the concept that I'm trying to tell you, just apply it to a business problem, and it will still do the same. All right. You can ask it to, let's say you can tell it, I have these items in the fridge. What kind of food can I make with them? So all the apps on the App Store today that are that work with recipes, or that tell you that all the diet apps on the App Store or the Play Store today, all the apps that ask you for food and tell you what you can make with them, those apps on the App Store or Play Store today, all of them are in danger. They will have to adapt. All right. I will also tell you that you can get summaries for the same. And this will be very helpful for corporates who have a lot of, how should I say this, text data. So if you're working for a company and you have a lot of user text data, not only can you ask questions from it, You can ask to get summaries from it. So there are a lot of companies who kind of plug into Zoom or plug into Meet, and they create something called minutes of meeting, which is basically a summary of what happened in the meeting. Look at this. I have just asked to write a summary for this. Now, here's what I'm telling you. If your organization, let's say, operates on Zoom all the time, every meeting is recorded. You can extract the text from that meeting. You can, and that text can be fed to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will summarize or do the minutes of meeting for you. All the apps on Zoom or other applications which were trying to do the same, again, all of them will now have to adapt. All right. Again, now since all of you are asking for business use cases, now I'm going to give you examples of business use cases. All right. All right. Let's say now I'm a developer. This is something that if you're following ChatGPT or you're already aware of them, you would know. As a programmer or as data analyst, most of you have been working with Python and Jupyter Notebook. ChatGPT will not only write code for you, it will fix your code, and you can treat it like an unpaid or like an intern or an assistant to you. Now, hear me out. Write a pandas function that will read my CSV file and create a line plot. Of course, I did not tell it to use pandas. I did not tell it to use matplotlib. I did none of that. None, absolutely. And look what it's doing. It gave me a generic coding template, and all I have to do is to just replace X column name and Y column name, and the function will straight up work. You can, of course, make it much more complex and just say create a line plot using Seaborn. Let's say you want to use Seaborn for some reason. You don't want matplotlib. Same function, same code, and it will start writing code for you. Now, again, the one thing to keep in mind for all of us is that if this is there, what will we do? The thing is, ChatGPT is not perfect and won't be perfect for a while. I'll say my original line again. Ideas won't be scarce. Selection will be. So it will write the code for you, but it is still up to you to look at the code and confirm if it is correct or not. All right. It has done that for me. So I'll give you a couple of use cases since all of you are, let's say you have some familiarity with Python. You can ask it to create a basic template for you, and you can go review it, and then you can fix if there are any errors. So for a project, whereas it used to take 4 hours, now it will only take you half an hour. From a productivity and companies' money saving and developers' time saving perspective, you can improve your productivity easy 10x, because you can ask it to write a basic template for everything you want it to do, and you can review it and vet it for if it is correct or not. You still have to know what's right or wrong. That's still you. The selection part is still you. But the template and the original part that you would essentially ask an intern to do, think of ChatGPT as your intern. Now, I'll quickly answer some questions before I move on. Write test cases for the code. Yes, it can. Bhaskar, yes, it can. From where the accurate data, if it's self-generated, how is the matched accuracy? Chandan, the ChatGPT has access to a lot of web data pre-2021. Can it take Excel sheet as input? Akhilesh, you can just ask it to take an Excel sheet as an input, and it will give you generic code. And of course, you can, paste the Excel parts from there. Does it do map related actions? No. Provide ChatGPT code are incorrect by default. I don't know what you mean. Brick and mortar company owner grow his or her business. So let's say you're a brick and mortar company. You would hire a consultant, right? You would hire a consultant, and you would hire a consultant to fix, let's say, certain issues. You want to streamline your process. You want to improve your click-through rate if you have a website. You want to improve your accounting, let's say. All of these questions that you would hire a consultant for, I'm not saying it will replace it, but you can ask ChatGPT, and if it won't give you a perfect answer, but it will guide you towards the answer yourself. As a company, if your developers' time is being saved, as a software company, your time is being saved. All right. Uh, how can we use ChatGPT for machine learning use cases? You can ask it to write code. Gets Pleasant checks. Neha, yes, and turn it in. It will use machine models in YouTube ads. How can we use? Someone asked me, can you do topic modeling in R? Sure, you can. It will write you R code as well. Siddharth Arvade. Yes, Siddharth, any question that you have, anywhere you get stuck, any error you have, you can ask ChatGPT to explain like your five, and ChatGPT will break it down to you. Essentially, all of you, think of it like an assistant that kind of guides you towards the answer. All right. I will now move on. Does it has on-screen character and image recognition? Siddharth, in ChatGPT 4 it does, and 3 it does not. All right. I will now, before I move on to more business use cases, I'll cover just till now I have covered it can do this, that, but sometimes people talk to Siri and Google all the time just for some banter, for some fun. If you want to do this here, you can. Like, I know it's silly, but I'm going to show you anyway. Tell me a joke, and like basic queries that all of us, our assistants, can do. It will do that. It will do chit chat with you. It will small talk with you. It will make some jokes with you. Now, I will do a recap of whatever we have done, but let me first tell you about the industries that will be affected the most and why. Customer service is the segment that will be affected, one of the most affected industries. So if you have a problem with any company, what do? You used to call them about 5-10 years ago. All of us had a toll-free number, and we would call them, and there would be someone there essentially trying to fix our problems. If you would have noticed in the last 5 years, a lot of people are not there anymore, and it has been replaced by chatbots. Those chatbots have had already taken a big chunk of the customer service industry out. Now, the thing is, I'm telling you that even those chatbots required a human on the other end. With ChatGPT, you can already take an industry already affected, further affect. Thereby, even more jobs in the customer service industry will go away, since most of us are now already used to talking with a chatbot. We were not about 10 years ago, today we are. So whenever you have, not today, in the future, whenever you have a problem with your order on Swiggy or Zomato, this is what will happen. All right. Content creation, people who create content are again would be the most affected here, because I can ask it to create templates for me, and I can quickly modify the same. I will. So translation service would also be another sector which would be highly impacted. People ask me, as a data analyst, where will this help you? If you have a lot of text data, this is where ChatGPT will come in. You can give your text data to ChatGPT and you can ask it questions. So here's what I'm telling you. If you have a lot of text data in your company, you can use a plugin to give all of that data to ChatGPT and basically ask questions from that data, essentially having your own question and answer model. I'll quickly wrap this up by giving you some limitations. It might seem too nice, and it is not. There are some limitations, and I wanted to throw some light on the same. The data that ChatGPT 3 was trained on was pre-2021. Anything post that, it can't help you. So if I ask it what happened in the Karnataka elections yesterday, it won't be able to. It does not know. It does not has common sense knowledge that you and I might take for granted. Things like understanding sarcasm or recognizing when a statement is contradictory is where it will struggle. Also, that if your data is biased initially, ChatGPT will kind of give you biased results. All right. I will just do one last thing, which is I've talked about where we are losing jobs. Let's talk about where we are gaining jobs, since nothing is just black. You always have black and white. All the AI trainers who know how to use ChatGPT and can use them in their favor will have much better time in the upcoming next 10 years. I'm saying don't be afraid of ChatGPT that it will code for you. Use it as an assistant to improve your speed of coding. AI trainers and chatbot developers would be highly in demand in the next 10 years since text-based models are having such a great time today. Content curators would also be very popular. So remember how I told you templates are pretty cheap. You can just ask ChatGPT and it will give you a template of anything, agreements, code, anything written, it will give you a template. But you still need someone who will look at that template and kind of tell you which one is good or bad. You still need a human intervention. So that is some another area that you need. One last thing, as data analyst, I would suggest all of you to start using this technology extensively and treat it like your assistant. The more you use it, the more comfortable you'll get, because this is not the end. ChatGPT 4 is already out. It's there in Bing. Bart was out yesterday. Google has just rolled it out. Just Google quickly, Google Bart. They made it public yesterday. Even I have not tested it out yet. Bard, it's called. It just went live yesterday. Like I have to yet to try it out. But these models will not stop. Keep using them. All right, you'll learn more. With that, I will quickly now hand over. I'll look at your answers and we'll see if you have time at the end. Uh, I'll quickly now give the session to Soumya. Soumya, sorry for taking so much time. There are so many questions.
Yeah, that's completely fine, Siddharth. And an interesting session about various use cases of ChatGPT and how was it helping. Yeah. So moving on, before I go ahead and talk about, Hero Wired and how, this program can help you in building, models like ChatGPT at the end and, giving you a career in data science, right? I would just like to have a small poll from this webinar that how many of you present here are coders? I would just like a yes or no in the Q&A box so that I can understand, what kind of audience we are having today with us. Quickly, just yes or no. Okay. Okay, right. Got it. So yes, I can see some yeses, some nos, and some I want to do it. Okay, I want to go into coding. Okay, got it. Right. So before talking about, the program again, I would like to know a little bit that how many of you know actually about Hero Wired? Where is it coming from? Where is it originating from? And what is the kind of vision that we are having? Anyone who's aware about it over here? Okay, got it. So let me just share my screen. Siddharth, if you can confirm whether my screen is visible or not.
It is.
Great. So before talking about any course, I'm sure first thing popping up in your mind is that why do we need a course if you want to start a career in data science or any technical job? Because one good thing about technical roles is that you can learn everything online, free of cost also. I don't think that's a very big challenge learning Python, learning some kind of machine learning technique. Everything is available out there. Then why should we, go ahead and take up a specialized program to do the same thing, right? Now, the point that I like to highlight is that learning is one thing and getting a good opportunity, getting a good placement and working in a good profile is another thing, right? Our aim is combining both of them. Okay. Now, of course, if you're looking forward to work as a data scientist or ML engineer, AI engineer, computer vision engineer, I'm sure your aim would be to get into a role where you can get good projects to work upon, where you can do some interesting work, you can change something, you can bring a change, right? And if you want to get to that kind of a role, there would be some things which you would require before that. So first of all, we are going to talk about those particular things only, right? First of all, if we talk about relevant skill set, Of course, ChatGPT looks very fancy, right? But when I talk about the algorithms, the coding which is required to build it, it is very complex and it would require a lot of hands-on practice. But before that, again, you would need to understand what exactly you have to learn in how much time. Because learning is an endless process. Learning is something which never comes to an end, right? If you're looking forward to get a transition at the end, into a data science role or into a role which is relevant with this kind of industry, right? First of all, you need to understand that what does the industry require? What kind of techniques you need to know? Because there are 1,000 things out there. You cannot just learn everything and build models and just go haywire. You would need to first of all shorten your set and understand that what exactly I need to learn in order to get a good role at the end, right? Second is, of course, industry exposure. So because data science, I would say it's a very huge industry. There are so many roles available. There are so many things that you can do and you can learn, right? What exactly is going to be your forte, something you have to understand in the beginning only, so that you can have a good defined career path, right? So again, these two things are the biggest challenges which people face in. They do not know what exactly we need to learn to get a job out there in the industry. Let me just take a small poll again. So guys, I'm sure most of you in this particular webinar are working professionals, right? How many of you think that whatever you learned in your graduation is still relevant, in your job that you're working in currently? Just a quick yes and no poll I want.